Welcome to The Big Question, where today we tackle a contentious issue from the world of professional sports. The question before us is, should professional athletes have a mandatory retirement age? It's a topic that sparks debate among fans, players, and administrators alike, touching on concerns from player welfare to the very spirit of competition. To discuss this, we have two distinguished guests. Arguing for a mandatory retirement age is David Miller, a respected former professional athlete and now a sports journalist known for his candid insights. And arguing against, we have Dr. Emily Carter, a sports physician and ethicist, with extensive experience working directly with athletes. We'll begin with opening statements, followed by rebuttals, a cross-examination period, and then closing arguments. David, please begin.
Thank you, Sarah. The debate over a mandatory retirement age for professional athletes is not merely academic. It's profoundly about safeguarding individuals and preserving the integrity of the sports we cherish. I firmly believe that implementing such an age limit is a necessary, responsible step forward. My primary concern is player health and safety. Professional sports, especially at the elite level, exact an enormous physical toll. We're talking about careers that often begin in adolescence, subjecting bodies to relentless strain, impact, and repetitive motion injuries for decades. The narrative of the, quote, hero athlete pushing through pain often masks a grim reality. A heightened risk of chronic conditions like severe osteoarthritis, debilitating back problems, and, most alarmingly, neurodegenerative diseases such as chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, particularly in contact sports. A mandatory retirement age would serve as a protective measure, mitigating some of these long-term health disasters by ensuring athletes don't push their bodies beyond a reasonable limit, even if their passion or competitive drive tells them otherwise. Secondly, consider fair competition and opportunity. While experience is valuable, the physiological decline that often accompanies aging is undeniable in physically demanding professions. Allowing athletes to continue indefinitely can lead to situations where declining physical capabilities, however well managed, might subtly affect team dynamics or overall competitive balance. More importantly, a defined retirement age creates a predictable pathway for new talent to emerge. It ensures that younger, deserving athletes get their chance to shine, bringing fresh energy and skill to the leagues. Finally, there's the matter of dignity in retirement. A mandatory age allows athletes to plan their transition, to leave the sport on their own terms, ideally at or near their peak. This is far preferable to the often heartbreaking scenario of a beloved veteran clinging on, only to be unceremoniously dropped or forced out by a career-ending injury or a significant decline in performance. A structured retirement acknowledges their contributions while allowing them to move into new phases of life with their health and legacy more intact.
Thank you, Sarah. While I understand David's concerns for player welfare, I must argue that imposing a mandatory retirement age is a fundamentally flawed approach, one that oversimplifies a complex issue. It risks infringing upon individual autonomy and fails to acknowledge the remarkable diversity among athletes and the significant advancements in sports science and medicine. My first point centers on individual autonomy and choice. The decision to retire should ultimately rest with the athlete. They are the ones who live in their bodies, who understand their physical capabilities, their passion for the game, and their personal and financial circumstances. To take that deeply personal decision away, based on an arbitrary number, is paternalistic and disrespectful of their agency and their lifelong dedication. Secondly, the landscape of athletic performance has been transformed by medical advancements and sophisticated training regimens. Athletes today have access to better nutrition, injury prevention strategies, recovery techniques, and medical care than ever before. This allows many to maintain peak or near-peak performance for far longer than previous generations. Chronological age is becoming an increasingly unreliable indicator of an athlete's physical condition or capability. We see athletes in their late 30s, even 40s, in some sports, competing at world-class levels. A mandatory age limit would prematurely end the careers of many such individuals who are still perfectly capable and willing to compete. My third point addresses the inherent risk of discrimination. A one-size-fits-all retirement age is inherently discriminatory. It doesn't account for the vast differences between sports. The physical demands of a gymnast are vastly different from those of a golfer or a bowler. Furthermore, it doesn't consider individual genetic predispositions, lifestyle choices, or the fact that some athletes mature and peak later in their careers. Such a policy would unfairly penalize these athletes and could lead to the loss of invaluable experience and leadership within teams and the broader sporting community. We should be focusing on individual assessments of fitness and health, not imposing blanket restrictions that ignore the nuances of human performance and personal choice.
Dr. Carter raises valid points about individual autonomy and medical progress, and I respect her perspective as a medical professional. However, while individual autonomy is a cherished principle, we must also acknowledge that professional sports leagues and governing bodies have a duty of care that extends to the collective well-being of all their athletes. This isn't just about one person's right to play. It's about establishing a framework that prioritizes long-term health outcomes for the majority, even if it means some individuals feel their careers are curtailed. The argument about medical advancements allowing longer careers is true to an extent. Athletes are indeed fitter and recover better than before. But these advancements, impressive as they are, cannot entirely negate the cumulative wear and tear, especially in high-impact or collision sports. The human body has its limits, and pushing those limits year after year, decade after decade, carries inherent risks that even the best science cannot eliminate. We're still seeing the devastating long-term consequences for athletes from previous eras, and it would be naive to think current generations are entirely immune, despite better care. Furthermore, the argument for individual choice often overlooks the immense pressures athletes face. Financial, from fans, from within their own competitive nature, to continue playing even when it might not be in their best long-term interest. A mandatory retirement age can, in a way, liberate athletes from these pressures, providing a clear and universally accepted endpoint. And let's not forget the ripple effect on the sport itself. Consistently making space for new talent invigorates leagues, provides opportunities for the next generation, and ensures a dynamic and evolving competitive landscape. This is crucial for the sustained health and appeal of any sport.
David, your concern for the collective well-being is commendable, but I believe a mandatory retirement age is too blunt an instrument to achieve that goal effectively or fairly. When we discuss player health, the focus should be on robust, individualized health assessments and stringent return-to-play protocols after injury, not an arbitrary age. Different sports place vastly different stresses on the body. A marathon runner's physiological challenges are distinct from a weightlifter's or a chess grandmaster's. Should we even consider that a sport for this argument? Comprehensive, sport-specific fitness tests and regular medical evaluations conducted by independent professionals can determine an athlete's capacity to continue safely, far more accurately than their birth certificate. Regarding the fair competition argument, if an older athlete consistently meets performance standards and outperforms younger competitors, on what grounds should they be denied their place? True fairness in sport is about rewarding merit and capability, not about enforcing age-based quotas. The presence of seasoned veterans can elevate the level of play and provide invaluable mentorship. To suggest they are merely taking up space is a disservice to their continued contributions. The discriminatory aspect of an age cap remains a serious ethical concern. It penalizes those who, through discipline, genetic good fortune, or simply a different developmental trajectory, can maintain excellence later in life. We would lose not only their on-field contributions, but also their wisdom, their experience in navigating the pressures of elite sport, and their ability to guide younger teammates. This is a significant loss for the entire sporting ecosystem.
We now move to the cross-examination. David, you have the first question for Dr. Carter.
Dr. Carter, you advocate for individualized health assessments, which in principle sounds very reasonable. However, professional sports encompass a vast array of disciplines, each with unique physical demands, and leagues operate globally with varying resources. How can we realistically and consistently implement such individualized assessments across these diverse sports and leagues without them becoming overly subjective, administratively burdensome, or susceptible to disputes and legal challenges over fairness and consistency?
That's a practical and important question, David. The key lies in developing clear, evidence-based criteria for fitness and health specific to the demands of each sport, established by independent medical panels. These panels would comprise sports physicians, physiologists, and potentially former athletes, ensuring a balanced perspective. Standardization of testing protocols and transparent reporting would be crucial to minimize subjectivity. While it requires investment and careful design, it's not insurmountable. Many professions requiring high physical or cognitive function already use rigorous, individualized assessments for continued certification, proving it's a feasible model if the will is there.
Thank you. Dr. Carter, your question for David Miller.
Mr. Miller, you've spoken about the need to make way for younger talent and allow athletes to retire with dignity. However, some of the most iconic and inspiring figures in sports history have been those who defied conventional age limits, continuing to perform at exceptional levels. If we enforce a mandatory retirement age, aren't we potentially depriving sports of these legendary figures who can still contribute significantly, not just through their performance, but also by inspiring millions, mentoring young players, and enriching the cultural fabric of their sport?
That's a compelling point, Dr. Carter, as we all admire athletes who achieve longevity and excellence. However, the legacy of a legend isn't solely defined by their playing years. Many great athletes transition into equally impactful roles as coaches, mentors, ambassadors, or commentators, where their wisdom and experience continue to enrich the sport immensely, perhaps even more broadly than if they were still competing. A mandatory retirement age doesn't erase their legacy, it simply marks a transition. It also ensures that the spotlight continually finds new talents, allowing new legends to emerge and inspire the next generation in their own right.
We now proceed to closing statements. David Miller, please summarize your position.
Thank you. Throughout this discussion, my core argument has remained consistent. A mandatory retirement age in professional sports is a pragmatic and compassionate policy that serves the greater good. We've discussed the undeniable physical toll of elite competition and the critical need to prioritize long-term player welfare, moving beyond a culture that sometimes encourages athletes to sacrifice their future health for present glory. A defined retirement age helps mitigate these risks. Furthermore, it ensures a level playing field and, crucially, provides consistent opportunities for new generations of athletes to demonstrate their skills and pursue their dreams. This isn't about diminishing individual achievement or forcing out capable players prematurely. It's about systemic health, fairness, and the long-term vitality of the sports themselves. It encourages athletes to plan for their future, to transition with dignity, and to potentially contribute to their sport in new and valuable ways beyond the field of play. While individual circumstances vary, a clear, universally applied standard offers protection and predictability. I urge us to consider a mandatory retirement age not as a restriction, but as a responsible, forward-thinking measure for the enduring well-being of both the athletes and the sports we all hold dear.
Thank you, David. Dr. Carter, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, Sarah. My opposition to a mandatory retirement age stems from a belief in individual rights, the advancements of modern science, and the inherent value of experience. Forcing a capable, healthy, and willing athlete to retire based solely on their chronological age is fundamentally discriminatory and disregards their personal autonomy over their career and body. We've heard how medical science and sophisticated training have extended athletic longevity, making age an increasingly poor proxy for actual physical capability. Individualized assessments offer a far more precise and equitable means of determining fitness to compete. Such assessments can uphold safety standards without resorting to a blanket ban that prematurely ends careers and deprives sports of valuable talent and mentorship. The presence of veteran athletes enriches sports, offering inspiration, leadership, and a continuity of excellence that benefits fans, younger players, and the sport's overall culture. Instead of imposing arbitrary limits, we should empower athletes with information, provide excellent medical oversight, and trust them, in consultation with experts, to make informed decisions about their careers. Let performance, health, and personal choice be the arbiters, not the calendar. A nuanced, individualized approach is not only fairer, but also more reflective of the evolving capabilities of the modern athlete.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. And thank you, David Miller, for a truly engaging and thought-provoking debate on this complex issue. David has argued for a mandatory retirement age emphasizing player welfare, fair opportunity for new talent, and the dignity of a planned retirement. Dr. Carter has countered, championing individual autonomy, the role of medical advancements, and warning against the discriminatory nature of an age-based rule, advocating for individualized assessments. Clearly, there are compelling arguments on both sides, balancing the health and structure of sports against the rights and capabilities of individual athletes. We hope this discussion has provided our audience with ample food for thought. Thank you for joining us on The Big Question.